Well, so you just had it. The episode last week was about consent.
Yes.
Man, listen. Please go listen to that episode. What was the gentleman's name again?
John O. Grayson. Shout out to you.
An incredible dialogue. For me, I got to be honest. When you prefaced it that way, you're like, "Yo, have you learned anything about consent?" And I was like, I was like it was a speaker. I was like, wait, now I want to hear this because I around the whole consent thing. Trust me when I tell you, I have struggled mightily with the conversations, and not from the women. It's the niggas. Like I didn't know niggas was that sick for real. So that's where it started for me. It's like, well, this is silly. Why are we? What you can't read the room? You got Asperger's for real? Like, what's going on? Like that was the thinking, the immaturity of me. And then once the conversation became national, and men, as men do, they sit around talking about barbershop talk, what have you. Like, oh, all you niggas are crazy for real. Like,
I mean, men do have Asperger's towards women though.
For sure.
It's just like a task at hand.
Gee, but imagine I didn't know that though. I'm going. So the season 3 of Master of None came out. Aziz Ansari, Lena Waithe. Aziz got in his situation with the young lady writing a piece about their experience on the date, and I was like, oh, both of y'all just seem game goofy. And reading her statement and then reading Aziz is like, oh, both of y'all just game goofy. I can't do nothing with this information. I'm off it. That was it for me. But then the more stories start coming out about bad dating experiences, like, oh, so everybody's just goofy? Like this is what's happening?
It's bad.
it's just really bad. But y'all landed in a really dope spot in the conversation talking about, oh damn, what did he say? Or maybe you said it about how few men have just platonic relationships with women.
Yes.
And it's like, damn. And it's true. You start to see it. It's like, it's a lot. It's like, we laugh all the time. It's like, I can only be around him for so long. It's like, bro, let's go. Like, because it's like just the energy, but we all were raised by women too. So it's there's that element of it. And that has its, depending on who you ask, that has its flaws or perks or whatever. But there is something to be said about just like, hey, that's a person first that I'm dealing with, that I'm interacting with, as opposed to I want something from them.
Yeah.
I thought everybody had friends that were, I thought every guy hung around women in that capacity, and I didn't realize like how few of them actually can like spend a few seconds in a room with women, like before they start sweating and saying crazy shit. It's like, man, why would you say that? Like, you wouldn't say that if it was just guys. You wouldn't just say that. So what's going on? Like, is it a nervous tick? What's happening right now?
You start looking at that clock and it's like 10:30, 11, 11:30. All right, how much longer are we gonna be talking? That's like the guy mentality. To tell you the truth, it's all about like women have the clock inside of them, men have a clock inside of them as well for the night. Like that's literally what it is. So it's not like gonna have a child or anything like that. It's literally we have a clock inside of ourselves for how much capacity we have for tonight, depending on the person, of course, but. Some of those are a little bit longer than others, like they can wait or they can sit within a conversation for longer and stuff like that. It depends also on what the conversation is, because you got to think about it. People aren't having real conversations.
Come
like
on.
That. So, youpeople will talk about...
You've been saying that for months now.
Yeah, all you doing is just you're having conversations about other people's lives. How long are you going to be doing that? You know what I mean? Like if you're doing the social media shit and all you talk about is celebrities or other people's lifestyles, what other people are wearing, what other people are doing, then obviously y'all haven't gotten into anything about each other or anything about the people here. So what makes you think that all of a sudden a person's going to start thinking about you as an individual? No, we haven't talked about you as an individual, so why would I start doing that now? And now it's 11:45. I'm going to keep going back to the clock, because y'all got to understand what the clock is. You know what I mean?
No, the amount of men that I experience that are shocked about I actually have had a conversation with you for this long and I wasn't like during that time, maybe initially, maybe the end, but during that time, I wasn't necessarily thinking about sex. And they're shocked that they can have that kind of conversation with a woman. And I go like, I feel like that speaks more to you than it does to the women you're having a conversation with. And I also think it was really important. At the end of it, there's a quote I got from Candace Bimbo, she is a theologian, I think is the right word. Yeah, we'll call it that. But she's like, how she's been presenting in this space in the world of like religion has been so refreshing, because she's a black woman that's been like, y'all have been really fucking harmful to black women in the church. And it's really interesting to see how she presents. But she talks about, the amount of black women and the amount of LGBTQ black identifying women who have been in some way harassed, raped, or whatever. And we all as women know, but every guy we know swears they don't know a rapist, swears they don't know anybody who does all that. But how are we all having this experience, but none of y'all? Got no friends like that be doing this?
Yeah, I can say, at least from the male's perspective, that it's highly possible that you cannot know a rapist. Like, know that they are rapists.
Absolutely.
And that's just because men unfortunately don't have those conversations with other men. Like, I mean, at least for me myself, like, I don't know too much about what another guy is doing in a bedroom unless he says something to me. Like, if he says something about something that took place, of course it'll still come from his angle. So if he doesn't see it as rape, then the way that he relays what happened doesn't come across as rape either, in the way that he did it, So like that's why it's a block, because we're not having the conversations across the table. Gotcha. To the women to be able to know, what the women's experience is, as opposed to with the other men. Like, you kind of have to have both of them in the same room, but of course that would be damaging to get to the bottom of what that actually is.
And that's a solid point, because I do believe that a lot of times my experiences of men, I feel like violating my boundaries, like they really in their mind were like, no, like she wants this. And I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, why do you get to decide that for me? And kind of the same thing we were joking about on one of our episodes, where he was like, like niggas been talking to a girl for 2 days and be like, oh, this is one of my bitches, And it's like there's this huge disconnect between what men think is happening and what women are experiencing happening, and there's a lack of conversation. And that's particularly why I chose to interview a male about consent, because I'm like, we're not talking. Yeah. And we're not talking in a way in which one of us is not just yapping at the other, whether women are telling you what not to do, as they should, but men are not being defensive. It's like, let's just have an open conversation. But a lot of people don't hold the space with each other to have open conversations about things that are not easy.
And another thing that you said, as far as like the men talking to a woman for 2 hours and now that's my bitch or whatever, it's the exact same thing that's super weird too, that men and other men, they have a drink with each other and they shared a few laughs and now they're friends. So like the friend word gets thrown around a little too loosely and easily as well. So you don't really get to the bottom of an individual. That's why it's like I don't have many of those, like people that I'll call a friend. You know what I mean? Because I can't vouch for every individual. So therefore I have to really know an individual in order to even be a friend. You know what I mean? So I got to know a good amount about them before that can even take place. Folks just be friends. You know what I mean? They're friendly as fuck. People are just friendly as fuck. Like, that's just what they are. So if somebody doesn't know that, like if somebody doesn't know that their friend is a rapist and they're a friend, then that's interesting, because those are things that, you know.
You also got to think about these conversations just really start happening out loud.
Thank you.
So, like, as somebody who works in education, right, and as somebody who's, like, actually, like, trained in conduct and case management, and I deal with Title IX, and I deal with, like, consent all day.
Damn it, that's so tight.
I'm listening to y'all speak, and it's great to hear the conversation, but it's also challenging, because it's like our young folks are experiencing these non-consent sexual acts more than I feel like ever comparison to our older generation.
Really?
And it's unfortunate, because now we have to teach them about it, right? And when we're teaching young folks about consent, it's like it's so sad, because you got to teach a young kid, like, can I have your cup? You must say yes, right? And they're 3. Because before you know it, you're about to be in middle school and high school, and the same things that were happening to us is going to happen to them. But at least they get to advocate for themselves, right? When we were young, I don't know about you, but when I was younger, right, we playing booty tag, we doing all this stuff.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, oh, we kissing behind a tree, thinking I'm in love and basketball, using my fingers, and I'm thinking that's cute because I'm seeing it on TV.
Yeah.
But these young folks, granted to the educators, granted to whatever's going on, they're able to be like, no, I don't want to do that. And I appreciate that. But it's because what is it? Like now everything's viral and everybody's talking. Yeah.
I just wonder if that takes out like the instinctive things though. Because human beings are instinctive. So like if you're going to make everybody into a robot, then we're just going to be AI. You know what I mean? Like
So you think asking for consent is making somebody a robot?
I mean, to the extent of asking somebody for their cup, like I feel like that's a little extensive, but I mean I get it, I understand. I'm just saying that some things are like a feel, and I understand that on the consent topic, I understand you have to ask for consent on everything. That's cool, but I'm more so thinking about. What about the fillers of, like, are you taking out the natural endorphins of what a woman would put out and what a guy would pick up on if we're no longer dealing with the instinctive thing? Which, therefore, I don't have to deal with that, unfortunately. Like, not unfortunately, but I don't have to deal with the whole being stuck in the middle on if somebody wants something or doesn't want something, you know what I mean? Like, because I lead with the empathy first or whatever, or just like I care about women naturally, that never crosses my mind, so I'm probably not the best person. I always say as a 6'5" African-American male, I'm probably the worst person to talk about, and straight, like I'm probably the worst person to talk about some of these topics. So like, because me naturally, my brain doesn't really understand all of the list of things that you have to go through in order to speak to a person and have a connection with the person. I'm like, this is all humanistic things. How are you not leading with being a human first? That's the part I don't understand. Where do we get disconnected from being human?
But
first?
it also, sorry, go
No,
ahead.
no, please go, please. Yeah.
I feel where you're coming from, and it makes a lot of sense. But it's also like we have to talk about trauma, it triggers, and harm. When we're talking about sexual consent. We're not talking about like anything else, right? So it's like, and I feel like, and this is a very like heterosexual conversation, right? So we're talking about with women and men. It's clearer, at least again, this is a woman's perspective, right? It's clearer when a woman is ready than when a man is ready, right? Like when a woman, no, it's not use the word bitch today. I'm trying to do better.
Hey, look here at, never mind. I'm chilling today.
I'm not taking on one if I start.
Hey.
Like, if a woman is ready, right?
It's Dolores Day, so y'all can do whatever y'all want.
Not the Lord's, I'm not finna say bitch. But
He took a break on this day, so you can't.
Lawrence!
My bad.
Hey,
Nigga took
Jesus.
his man
L,
today.
when you say smart shit,
I'm just
genius
saying.
for that.
I'm just saying.
I'm not gonna do
But
this.
see,
This should be the day that you
don't help. Like
this
this
should be
is
the
what I
day that
gotta-
you get
y'all
it
see
off.
What's going on?
Yeah, you should get it off today.
I'm just saying.
Technically, it's Saturday, but all right.
The pastor daughter said what she said.
Sita, please finish. God,
Thank you for acknowledging that. No, but what I'm saying, so when a woman is ready, right? Consent is. I'm not gonna say that's consent because it's not. Because this is a real nigga mindset of mine, and it's also.
that's
a problem.
what we talk. That's where we come out. Cause that's the.
But it's like if I hop on my nigga lap, you feel me? I'm ready. You know, it's very different. But then if a man is coming and like taking my pants off and taking my shirt off and doing all this stuff, and you're right, you are 6'5" and a big black man. So if somebody is 6'5" and a big black man taking your pants off, it's depending on the woman. Like me personally, I slap the fuck out of you if I don't want to do it. But first, another woman, she may be like, okay, well, what am I supposed to do? And and now all of a sudden, boom, you got a rape charge.
But that's and Elle, please stop me if I'm wrong. But that is the accommodations as larger black men that we just had to be mindful of. So when the conversation,
That's how we navigate the world.
yeah, when the conversation of consent start coming up, I struggled with it initially because it's like, bro, I go, so I don't get killed, or so don't some
Exactly.
random white lady don't go, that nigga Monty whistled at me. Oh, bro, no, I'm good. Like I got to be real clear on my interactions.
Yeah, trust me,
I've
I'm
That's
always
always
your
had
that's
to
your
be.
privilege as a black. I mean, not your that's a disadvantage of, unfortunately, of being a larger black man or a black man in general. But there's a lot of white men who come up to me on an everyday basis. I'm talking about in a complex that I live in, and it's like, oh, how you doing? Oh, you look beautiful. Da da da. Like, nigga, I will shoot you. You know, but they come through the world differently than black men do. And that's why if you look at, like, unfortunately, like rape cases and statistically, and like when you're talking about consent and Title IX and higher education, the numbers are not what we would statistically think it is, where it's like black men are doing it to white women the way you're talking about it. And it's because culturally, traditionally, historically, right, like indigenously, we know how to do these things. This was not created for us. It really wasn't.
And so okay, so
We're just kind of poster people.
Right.
yeah. So we
Yeah.
said so that has been my whole.
Like everything else.
I've struggled in it
Granted.
because this does feel this again. This is something that wasn't designed by us. So now the conversation and the how it's marketed, how it's branded, isn't leveraged towards us.
This wasn't FUBU?
No, for real. Like, get some black folks in the room when we trying to like set this conversation up. Have it be y'all, so it can be clear, and I don't have to sit in Clubhouse hearing niggas normalize rapey shit. I'm like, bro, oh, y'all sick for real, but it all started from the room was called A Conversation in Consent, fam. And somebody's telling a story, and yeah, nigga, I did. Wait a minute, so all y'all rapists for real? That's what my ears just heard.
I mean, the way they vouch, you would think that everybody is a rapist.
Oh, no.
Like, the way that men would vouch for another man without knowing any of the details. Like you were in the room with them at the time when something took place, just because you're either fond of that male or you have some type of business connection with them or something of some sort. Like, there's some connection with that individual that makes you automatically say that there's no fucking way that could be the case. But it's for your own benefit as opposed to.
That's where my funk comes from, G. That right there.
Yeah.
The everyone collectively being afforded the privilege to move the goalposts depending on where they fall and on the status spectrum. I can family didn't do nothing. How many people are reported to be on the plane with cuz going to the island with the underage girls?
What's his name?
Yeah, but they all, like I
Epstein.
said, that's the part I'm talking about as far as business goes, because they all have a business connection with that. So there's money that's being circulated for that.
Look at rap.
If you did a walkthrough, if you did a paper trail on most billionaires, you would find their connections to a good amount
But
of.
it's even
activities.
simpler than that, because it's as simple as ego. Because I go, niggas that got no bitches will swear another nigga didn't do something to a woman off the strength of like, yeah, because bitches be lying. I'd be like, you don't even be fucking with girls like that. So how are you so quick to say what women do or don't do? Yeah. And it's this like defensiveness to defend this like male ego and this idea. There's this huge thing right now in the black male community of supposedly there is this huge agenda to emasculate the black man. And I'm not going to say that there aren't things out there that are directly towards that, but everything can't be that, because then there's no space for you to ever be wrong. There's no space for you to ever be challenged. There's no space for change if everything is met at you're just trying to emasculate us as a whole and you're targeting us as a whole. And it's like, I mean, yeah, I've seen that. I've seen it, but I also go, sometimes y'all just got it wrong. And you don't want to let up.
And how do we navigate that space where it's all so like either it is or it ain't? It's like this the concept of like right and wrong in that regard. To your point, it's like it leaves zero accountability, like in checks and balances amongst just us. Like, hey, my nigga, if we out and you see something that, hey, fam, you know you can't step to nobody like that. Wait a minute, like, there, you know what I'm saying? Like how like. And on the other and for women, the other side sounds crazy. And for women, like what are the checks and balances for us all amongst ourselves? And say his name again. That was on the episode. I'm sorry.
Jono.
Mm-hmm. He the most fire point where he's like her partners will give you more of a clear indication of how this night is going than she will. And I couldn't respect this shit more, because how many times has it been like, yo, if the partner's not fucking with you, it's probably not. It's probably not happening.
That's true. I think there is in a group with women, there is a moment where it's acknowledged, like, I want this, right? And it's not necessarily that direct of a conversation, but it is more like, you know, you say to your girl, like, oh my God, you see him over there, like, I'm about to go to, and you know, you go and you do whatever, you come back, you say something, and there's a vibe of like, oh, she's good. So, like, go do what you're doing. Like, I don't need to be all up on you. I'm going to take my space. And so I think that friendship dynamic is important, but I think the biggest thing is, like, have a conversation with somebody of the opposite sex that you're not trying to fuck about this shit. Like, it's not... To me, it's like it's not rocket science. Like, just fucking have a conversation.
What we finding out is it is because niggas is weird for real.
I was about to say, they just said it, though. They just said it's how often do you sit in a space with somebody where you're not looking at the clock trying to fuck?
I mean...
Yeah, because, like, you can
fuck
spend...
before you come.
Whoa.
Get some in, then go have a conversation.
Chances
Then
are...
have something
chances
you can go
are
tap in after.
Chances are you're not going there.
Not going nowhere.
Yeah,
See y'all tomorrow.
you did your do for the day. Shit. What's the point of going outside now? Shit.
Well, do it in the morning and then go outside. Shit.
By then you recharge.
I'm back. That's crazy. Y'all sick for real.
You're gonna refill by the night.
Oh, man.
Whoa.
Ain't no free time in
What's
the
the
middle.
next
Damn,
topic?
shit.
That's what.
What's the next topic?
I just want to point out to y'all. That's where we got from starting with gratitude. So I don't know what that say about y'all energy today. Lex, what did you? Matter, you been quiet.
Hey, I've been moving a lot.
Yeah.
4 people.